Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Willow City Council regular meeting, March 24th, 2026. We will call this meeting to order at 6:01. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please stand. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next item is roll call, please.
Mayor Hudson,
Present.
Vice Mayor Thomas,
Here.
Councilmember Hanson,
Here.
Councilmember Pride, here, Councilmember Busby.
Here. Okay. Are there any changes to the posted agenda?
Yes, if you could do the proclamation for National Volunteer Week first. The people who are accepting the first item 5A are not here yet. And then if they're still not here after that, I guess we could go into the presentation by PG&E.
Okay. All right. With that, we will go into ceremonial matters. Item 5B, Proclamation National Volunteer Week. City of Willows Proclamation National Volunteer Week. Whereas National Volunteer Week is an annual celebration that recognizes the contributions of volunteers and the positive impact they make on communities across the nation. And whereas volunteers play a vital role in strengthening the City of Willows by giving their time, talents, and energy to support local programs, services, and community initiatives. And whereas the spirit of volunteerism enhances the quality of life for all residents by fostering compassion, civic pride, and community engagement. And whereas volunteers support a wide range of services, including public safety programs, community events, youth senior services, nonprofit organizations, and neighborhood improvement efforts. Whereas numerous civic organizations within the City of Willows exemplify the spirit of volunteerism through their ongoing commitment to service, supporting community programs, assisting those in need, and contributing to the overall well-being of the community. And whereas the City of Willows is grateful for the dedication and generosity of its volunteers who help make the community a better place to live, work, and visit. Now, therefore, I, Evan Hudson, Mayor of the City of Willows, and on behalf of the Willows City Council and the citizens of Willows, do hereby proclaim April 19th through April 25th, 2026 as National Volunteer Week in the City of Willows, and encourage all residents to recognize and thank volunteers for their service and to consider volunteering to support and strengthen our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and official seal this 24th day of March 2026. Signed, Evan Hudson. And do I have anybody receiving this?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Clear off the top of my head. That's Thank you. That's yours to keep. Oh, okay. For the Lions.
Lions Club does numerous projects, all the way from raising money for graduating students. We take part in the car show and the Lamb Derby. Anything that we can get our volunteers to do. We do vision checking for children in schools, and if somebody needs glasses and can't afford it, we will provide them. It's just one of the many things Lions International And it does. And I'd like to thank the council for its proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you, Harold.
Willows Lions Club also puts on a great intermediate school basketball tournament every year. And they've always done a great job running that. And it's always been well done. So thank you for your contributions. So do we want to go to our presentation first? Okay.
Oh, yep.
With that, we will be moving item 5A to after item 6A. So item next up is item 6A, PG&E Local Government Forum. Recommended action, receive PG&E's brief summary of its layers of protection, legislative priorities, and affordability programs presented by David, am I saying it right, Mong?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Local Government Affairs Representative of PG&E.
Thank you so much for having me today. Like you just said, my name is David Mong, local government affairs rep for PG&E. We do these local government forums. We try to with each city and county about once a year just to give a summary of what we're up to and what our priorities are for the year. And yeah, thanks again for having me. It was great driving into town today with all the American flags lining the street. It's awesome and excited to come back for the wall that heals on Thursday. So I may see some of you there as well. Next slide. As agenda of the topics I'll cover, I won't bore you reading through that. I know there's a lot of pages in this packet, but I'm going to try to breeze through, keep it around 10 minutes or so. So we're not going to be here all night. No worries. We'll go next slide. All right. So this year, as the last 4 or 5 years or so, our number one priority has been lowering wildfire risk in our region. So that starts with identifying and reducing wildfire risk. Next slide, please. So this is what we call our layers of protection. It starts with situational awareness. So we've installed over 2,000 weather stations and high definition cameras monitored by trained professionals to better predict and respond to wildfires and severe weather. This way we can get ahead of any conditions coming. After that, it goes to our what we call our SIPT crews, which stands for Safety and Infrastructure Protection Teams. Each of these teams has at least 2 former CAL FIRE workers on there, and they are deployed and trained to response professionals to increase wildfire safety and enhance community recovery. Next is our enhanced power line safety settings. These settings detect hazards on the power lines and shut off quickly to prevent ignitions. And then everybody's favorite, public safety power shutoffs, turning off power for safety as a last resort during severe weather. And then some of our resiliency work includes new strengthened equipment. So we've installed strengthened poles and covered power lines on about 1,900 miles of overhead power lines, undergrounding power lines, completing thousands of miles of undergrounding in the highest wildfire risk areas, which is key. It's nice to know that we are working with CAL FIRE to designate the areas with the highest wildfire risk and prioritizing those first. So our rural areas are getting some attention in that regard. And then vegetation management. So trimming or removing about 1.5 million trees to keep them away from power lines and prevent wildfires. Next slide. Sorry, I caught you off guard there. And this next one, I won't read through all of it, but wanted you to have some stats on just the system-wide work that we've been doing, some of the numbers on undergrounding and our system upgrades. Next slide. Sorry. Thank you so much. Our advanced situational awareness tools. So like I mentioned, our high definition cameras and weather stations are installed near your community. In Glenn County, we have 19 weather stations installed to date and 8 HD cameras. What I love about these is they're accessible by the public. So if you go to those websites there, pge.com/weather, it'll bring up an interactive map. And you can click on each weather station or each camera to either see what the weather station's picking up or what the camera is seeing in that area. Next slide. Enhanced power line safety settings, or EPSS. Next slide, please. I love this graphic here, but instead of reading all through it, the main point over here is with these new settings, if say a hazard like a tree branch, something like that, falls on our power lines, they now shut off in 1/10 of a second. Before these settings, it was about half a second, and we've seen ignitions drop by about 65% in the last year thanks to these settings. Next slide. And public safety power shutoffs. Next slide. And as I mentioned, high winds can cause tree branches and debris to contact energized electric lines or damage our equipment, cause wildfires. So to prevent these wildfires, we may need to turn off power as a last resort. Then there's just a list of some of the conditions that can cause us to shut it off. But on the next slide, these numbers, the main takeaway here is that over the last 5 years, we've seen a dramatic decrease in the number of customers de-energized because of PSPS events. And also just increased times for getting power back on. So we're doing our best in our system hardening, system strengthening efforts to minimize the impact on our customers by these shutoffs. Next slide, please. And then our PSPS data portal. This is another one that is accessible to the public. And then there's also an advanced portal that by request is accessible to cities and counties. So it'll let you see just what's going on during an event, past events, and just see all the data related to our shutoffs. So you can kind of try to predict when things might come on. Next slide, please. We offer a number of customer resources and support during these outages. Customers can contact 211 or the Disability Disaster Access and Resources Group to find out how to get some of these resources or if you qualify for them, but they include food assistance, hotel accommodations and discounts in the case of an outage, transportation assistance, locations of resource centers, and more. Next slide. Vegetation management. Slide. So when trees are too close to electric equipment, they can cause power outages or wildfires. So that's why each year we inspect about 100,000 miles of power lines and perform additional inspections in areas with increased wildfire risk. And then we also trim or remove about 1.5 million trees to prevent wildfires in our areas. Next slide, please. All right, some of our advocacy priorities for 2026. Next slide. So the two big ones here are our undergrounding efforts and then also the California Wildfire Fund. So supporting policies that enable wildfire risk and reduction for long-term safety. The Wildfire Fund plays a crucial role in ensuring timely compensation for wildfire victims, and while supporting financial stability for utilities and meet California's wildfire mitigation standards. And we're very thankful that last end of session, the Wildfire Fund was extended. It was originally set up to protect communities like ours here in central Northern California. Nobody expected there to be catastrophic wildfires in Los Angeles that depleted a lot of the funds. So we're just advocating to make sure that there is stable funding for the long term to protect our areas up here. So like I said, the fund was extended, but we're just going through those pages that they did pass to make sure that there's consistent funding for it. And then with our undergrounding efforts, undergrounding is one of the most effective tools to permanently reduce wildfire ignition risk and improve electric reliability, because we don't have to do shutoffs when our lines are underground. They're unaffected by the weather conditions, wind, rain, etc. So we're just advocating with the CPUC to keep these projects as affordable as possible. This way, it is expensive to underground, even though it'll save us on the back end, being much safer and much more reliable. Next slide, please. In the realm of reliable clean energy, the state has already approved Diablo Canyon to operate through 2030, and PG&E is now completing the federal NRC license renewal process to preserve that option for long-term operation. So our Diablo Canyon power plant is the largest and only clean energy nuclear power plant in California. It produces enough electricity to serve approximately 4 million Californians and about 17% of the state's clean energy and 9% of the total energy produced in California. So continued operation of this power plant reduces reliance on greenhouse gas emitting resources, avoids additional infrastructure needs, and also helps control system-wide costs for customers. And Diablo Canyon has been operated for nearly 40 years in California, and we've never had a safety incident. So keeping that record going. Next slide, please.
Quick question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the picture that you have there, is that the actual Diablo facility right there? Okay.
Yes, that's the facility. It's down in San Luis Obispo. And also there's a lot of like marine biology scientists who also go there because it is so economically friendly and environmentally friendly. There's a ton of wildlife and stuff that comes around there because it like increases the temperature of the water very slightly, but has become a great resource for scientists as well to do some studies down there. But we do tours over there about twice a year, so I can keep you posted if anybody wants to make the trip down to SLO and see the facility. We'd love to have you.
Awesome.
All right, projects and service planning. I included this slide just because I heard you guys are trying to do some new developments and growth, so wanted to highlight just what some of that process looks like on our end. We aim to energize new projects quickly and efficiently. The estimated application time, approval time is about 2 to 3 months, and estimated completion once approved is about 4 to 5 months after that. And there's a graphic kind of showing the timeline of what we're doing at each stage in the process. The one thing I hear a lot is people just saying like, oh, why is it taking so long? We're actually very strict on our end for making sure our teams are keeping up to date to these timelines. About 90% of the time, it's just we're waiting on applications that weren't completed or information from the planners from the customer. So as long as applications are complete and we have everything we need, we can keep things moving on there. Next slide, please. Rates and affordability. This is a fun one. I'm happy to share that rates are actually down 11% in the last 2 years since 2024. And we've seen 4 decreases over the past 2 years. This is in part due to PG&E saving $3.3 billion in operation costs and capital costs over the last 4 years by working smarter and using new technologies. Also, prior wildfire mitigation and response costs and collections are starting to phase out, so that'll help reduce overall customer impacts as well. And then every penny that customers pay is reviewed and approved by the CPUC through a public and transparent process. So just so everybody knows, we're not allowed to drastically raise or reduce rates. It all goes through the CPUC. And again, we're advocating with them to make things as streamlined as we can. Next slide, please. Wanted to highlight some of our savings programs. We're working hard to lower our prices and provide our customers with safe, reliable, clean, affordable energy. Some of the savings programs we offer are our CARE program. Qualifying customers can save up to 20% on their gas and electric bills. Our REACH program, also our FAIR program for families, and our match program, which is pretty cool, offers a dollar for dollar match up to $1,000 for customers to pay past due bills. And with any of these, if you go to pge.com, there's a savings programs page where you can type in all of your information and it will tell you exactly which programs you may qualify for. Next is our savings and support for all residential customers. We offer budget billing. This way you can kind of average out your bill, know what to expect every month, and aren't surprised when that summer AC goes on. We offer Go Green Home Energy Financing, which helps finance energy saving improvements to make customer homes more comfortable and efficient. And then also we do home energy checkups. So this helps customers assess the energy use and gives customized saving tips for their home. Next slide, please. And then we also have programs for customers with access and functional needs. So we provide support options for customers and access functional needs through medical baseline and the self-identification vulnerable program. Next slide. And then last slide here, just a couple other customer resources that I love. Our wildfire safety page gives effort on wildfire prevention efforts. Our Report It app, you can download the app, and then if you see anything that you think might be a safety concern, you can take a picture, send it right to us, and then we'll send teams to go check it out. I've heard a few stories of people submitting pictures of poles leaning in their neighborhood that made them uncertain. Crews come out within a couple days and are able to assess those and make improvements. And then our Safety Action Center page, we can help customers create an emergency plan and keep their families safe in the case of another catastrophic emergency. Next slide. And that's it. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to now answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with the Vice Mayor Thomas.
I'm not sure exactly. I know we have our SIPT teams that their job is to kind of clear area around our lines. I know in California, it gets a little bit dicey with who's responsible for what lands. So some of it may be state regulated, some of it's federal, and it can be a little bit tough to go into other jurisdictions for that. But yeah, I can go back and find out for you if there's any other hindrances keeping us from doing just that.
It's funny, I sort of had a tree related question as well.
Yeah.
When you're trimming or removing trees, I know PG&E normally has easements for its power lines, but can a property owner say no to a tree being removed if it's on their property and they don't want it taken out?
So in California, if it's designated as a fire hazard, unfortunately, they can't say no. If it's impeding upon PG&E lines or poles, any of our equipment, we can go in and take it down. We do our best to reach out to the customer first, let them know when we're coming, why we're coming, and all of that. But yeah, we do have the right to take it down if it's deemed a hazard to our equipment or just a fire safety issue.
Follow up to that real quick. Does that include drop lines? That go from your power lines to the houses or just your main lines?
I'm not sure on that, but I can.
Okay. Councilmember Busby, anything?
Thank you for the presentation, and it's good to see that rates are coming down. Let's keep that going.
Yeah. Doing our best.
Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you, David, for presenting. And yeah, we met before, and you represent PG&E well. So good job.
Thank you.
Hope you're around for a while. So yeah, along the nuclear, just real quick, along the nuclear power line of questioning. Thank God California finally came to its senses and extended the licensing on Diablo Canyon to 2030. It's really good to see that the company is working toward continuing that. Good, because we need it. So, yeah, with nuclear power being the cleanest energy producing, resource around, why the heck? What's wrong with this state? For God's sakes, PG&E has the nuclear power facility in Eureka, Humboldt County. It's been shuttered for years, and there's still staff there maintaining it. But is there any future hope in reopening the Humboldt County plant, for example, or bringing more nuclear power online? Because the United States Navy, as we speak, has nuclear submarines and others, type equipment all over the world working clean and safely. So come on, California, wake up. So anyway, it's clean resource. So why isn't PG&E pushing that envelope a little more, or are they going to, or is it politically impossible in this crazy state?
Yeah, that I don't know. I hope so. Because like you said, it's clean, it's cost efficient, and especially the way things are going with California trying to push electric vehicles, we're us needing more power for just technology and AI. There's going to be a need for more power. So I can't speak on behalf of the state of California. I don't know what they're going to try to open up. But right now, we're just focused on trying to get that extension done on the federal level to go even beyond 2030 with Diablo Canyon, but hoping that some more options open up.
Well, I've always been pleased and impressed with the boots on the ground PG&E staff, not so much with the corporate office. They've seemed to come around the last few years. They kind of had to. So, but it's good to see the rates are down finally. So, but it also concerns me a little bit with, I'm glad these alternative programs are offered, but there's a cost to that. And we see those costs on our bills. That kind of bothers me, but anyway, just wanted to say it. But thank you for the presentation, David. So keep up the good work with the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I will say one thing I forgot to mention, just in terms of rates, is about 1/3, 30% ish of every customer bill. Those charges can be directly related to just California rules and regulations. So a lot of things that other states don't have to deal with, unfortunately, are hoops that we have to jump through. So there's a giant cost added for that. And that includes some of the affordability programs as well, where some of those are required by the state of California to be offered for qualifying customers. So our hands are tied in some regard, but we're continuing to try to find more efficient ways to provide power to our customers and cut costs wherever we can.
Yeah, doing business in California is has to be absolutely terrific, but I'm glad you are, because you've got 100 years plus of infrastructure here that would be really hard to replace. So anyway, keep up the good work out there, David. Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, no, great presentation. Really appreciated it. One thing I can say is your guys' camera system for the wildfires is really helpful. I've used it as part of the fire service. We'll watch, local lightning strikes and things like that. Cameras pick it up, and next thing you know, they're zoomed in watching it. And it lets, I know our chief uses it to watch them and plan on whether or not we're sending out a strike team or not. So super helpful initiatives that you guys have going on. Love to see the rates coming down. Hope they keep doing. But I'd have to say that I really appreciated the call outs when you guys come out late at night and been really responsive in this area. So thank you for your time. And thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. And in case anybody doesn't already have my contact, I'll leave my card with the city clerk over there. So feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions, concerns, or yeah, I'm happy to fill you in on any more information too if you wanted to know more about anything I touched on today.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, David.
Thanks,
Thank
dude.
you,
Keep up the good work. Drive safe.
Okay, with that, we are going to circle back to item 5A, ceremonial matters, proclamation National Vietnam War Veterans Day. City of Willows proclamation, National Vietnam War Veterans Day. Whereas the United States of America Vietnam War commemoration gives all Americans the opportunity to recognize, honor, and thank our Vietnam veterans and their families for their service and sacrifices during the Vietnam War from November 1st, 1955 through April 30th, 1975. And whereas more than 9,000 organizations across America have joined with the Department of Defense as commemorative partners to honor our nation's Vietnam veterans, including the Jacob Bennett chapter of the New Mexico State Organization, National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And whereas commemoration includes the 9 million Americans, approximately 7 million living today, who served in the United States Armed Forces during this period, and makes no distinction between those who served in country, in theater, or were stationed elsewhere during those 20 years, because all of them answered the call of duty. Whereas on March 18th, 2017, the U.S. government passed the Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act, officially recognizing March 29th as National Vietnam War Veterans Day. Now, therefore, I, Evan Hudson, Mayor of the City of Willows, and on behalf of the Willows City Council and the citizens of Willows, do hereby proclaim March 29th, 2026 as Vietnam War Veterans Day and urge all citizens of Willows to recognize the valor and sacrifice of our veterans of the Vietnam War through ceremonies and prayers. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and official seal this 24th day of March, 2026. I do apologize. For some reason, that was a tongue twister for me on a couple of those. I believe we have the VFW here to receive this.
Want to say a couple of words. I'm sorry that I was late. Thought I had my back covered, but I guess I didn't. As you guys are aware that the healing wall passed through Willows today. It's being set up in Orland. 10 years ago, it was in Willows, almost about the same exact time. And I had trying to think of the words to say, but the ability to see it and be part of that 10 years ago. It's very moving. When I look back, it's just as vivid today as it was 10 years ago. So if you have a chance, get to Orland, see it, be part of it. The veterans really appreciate your doing all the proclamations for them. I asked them this year if they still wanted them, and they said absolutely yes. So thank you very much, and I'm sorry they weren't here tonight to pick it up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
I have to say that I am excited to go up and see the wall that heals. I did get to see the original one in Washington, D.C. late last year, and so I'm excited to see the display. With that, we will continue on to item 7, public comment and consent calendar forum. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved with a single vote unless removed for separate discussion by the council or city manager. Individuals wishing to speak on consent items or matters not on the agenda are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor and council members and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the council cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. You have item 7A, register approval, item 7B, minutes approval, item 7C, appointments to Northern California City Self-Insurance Fund Board of Directors, item 7D, California Cities Week. With that, is there any public comment? They're on the agenda or not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I will give it to the pleasure of the council.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I have a first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. Next up. Item 8, discussion and action calendar. All matters on the discussion and action calendar will be discussed and acted on individually. Individuals wishing to speak on these items are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. Comments should be directed to the mayor and council members and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the council cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Item 8A, reject all bids and authorize re-advertisement of the Sycamore Park beautification project. Recommended action, adopt resolution -2026, attachment 1, rejecting all bids associated with the Willows Mobility, Recreation, and Beautification Project, also known as the Sycamore Park Beautification Project, and authorizing the rebidding of the project. Contact will be Lori, and I'm sorry, is it Loza? Am I saying it right?
Loaiza.
Loaiza. Okay, I apologize for that. Our city engineer. Floor is yours.
I think I know Joe's here. So, but I can do
Put
it.
it in the list and
Oh, it's all good. I can take care of it. So I think you guys are all familiar with this project. This is a project, real brief history is basically it's been going on since about 2023 when we got grant funding from Cal Grant. And then we added the pool. And in August of 2024, we got Wilden, engineer of record, to get started on the project. And they finally got the plans wrapped up and we went to bid in December of last year, in 2025. And in February 24th, last time I was here, we opened bids. And unfortunately, the bids came in high. So the overall budget for this project, for the engineer's estimate that we had received from Wildan, was about $4.1 million. And the bids came in at about $5.3 million as low bid. Staff did have some contingencies in mind for additional funding. I think the overall funding for the project was about $4.7 million. So it had come in right around the engineer's estimate. We would have been okay. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So got to think, okay, what are we going to do about that? And after much contemplation and contacting the state to see if there is any additional funding, we've determined the best course of action is unfortunately to reject all bids and repackage and rescope the project. That will include probably eliminating the interior pathway and focusing on the pool and the tennis courts. And reason why we made that choice is because the pool is not functional right now, and it is, and the paths are functional. I mean, they're not ADA compliant, and we believe this is the best use of public funds. And with that, I go ahead and answer any questions you may have.
Can you repeat again what items you were talking about removing or continuing on with, whichever one's shorter?
So it would be the pool building and the tennis courts. And what we'll do when we rebid it is we will divide it up into many pieces as we can, so that if the numbers come back high again, we can have more flexibility in making sure that all monies are spent, because the city does have $4.7 million spent on this project. So even though it's not quite enough for the project as scoped, it is still important that the town excuse me, the city benefit from that.
Does that include the pickleball? It does, right?
Yes, yes.
Tennis courts, pickleball courts, the
Correct,
pool and the
correct.
building.
What I plan to do is we'll make the base bid be the pool, because that's the most important. And then we will put the tennis courts and pickleball courts as a bid alternate with the expectation that there will be adequate money for that. And then other sidewalks and stuff will be a third bid alternate. And that way, if we get lucky and bids come in low, we won't leave any money.
So it's assumed that the three pieces of the project that would be removed are the pathways, pathway lighting, and the solar that was going to be installed.
Correct. Thank you for the
Those are-
clarification, Marty.
And if I could just add also, I know that Mayor, you brought this up last time. Was it possible to consider the CDBG programming income funds and the amount of time that it takes to get a response from the state when we have all this other funding that has deadlines to expend it? It's just couldn't really make that line up without, possibly losing other grant funding that's in this project. So that was one of the reasons we didn't try to use the CDBG programming income funds that we had talked about briefly last time.
Well, and I think that's where our contracts need to have a little bit more teeth, to where when it's with a company that's supposed to be doing the designs for 13 months, I believe is the calculation you came up with, that they need to make up for our shortfalls. Because that's ridiculous that this can got kicked down the road so long that everything's inflated and now we're not able to afford what we promised everyone.
100%. And I'd also add that because because adding the pool is an existing facility, there's always a lot more uncertainty with engineers' estimate when you have an existing rehabilitation, because there's just more unknowns. And if you look at the bid tab that was provided, you'll see that there's a lot of, it's pretty tight with things like the sidewalk, but you'll see there's a lot of swing with things like the pool building and pool equipment. And that's because it's an existing facility and contractors just didn't really, it's an indicator of maybe that the plans could have been a little bit tighter and the scope a little bit more.
Also, the estimate that was originally provided by other consultants for which this entire project was based on for the pool was a screaming deal. And now we know why. It was a very cost-effective estimate for the pool, but it was greatly underestimated how much it was going to cost. And we didn't find that out until after we'd hired Willdan and they started working on it. And then we learned that really it was going to be considerably more to rehabilitate the swimming pool than the original estimate that was done by another consultant initially. So that was another problem we ran into.
Vice Mayor Thomas, I'll start with you.
Correct. Yep. They were way, way over schedule. I mean, I think it's clear that it did. I think probably the delay absolutely was a cost, but I think part of the problem too with Willdan, and I stepped in this project late, so was how they didn't really work with the city to really meet our budgetary needs. So that's part of the problem. I think maybe they, in some level, told the city what they wanted to hear instead of really looking at the scope and really sort of getting a solid estimate. I do not know that. I do not. So I want to put a big grain of salt with that. But, we put a lot of pressure on Willdan, with the numbers we had. And so, anyway.
Well, they did go down a track at one point, pretty far down a track with a much more robust Cadillac of pools. And then we had to say, wait a minute, we told you what the budget was. Why are you going down this track? We don't have that kind of money. I don't know if they thought we would just find it, which is not going to be a thing here. So that also became, they worked on something basically for some time before we realized that they were going down the wrong track and, building a much more robust swimming pool project than the city. Well, that did happen because they were the other bid for the Prop 218 study. You may recall, and they were not brought forward as a recommendation, and that had an enormous influence, actually. Prop 218 study? I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head.
I think the good and bad news is part of the reason why we went to bid so quickly and it didn't really work out was we were hoping to get it ready for next year. It was going to be done in fall of next year. Now you're looking probably more like winter of next year. Since this is not a grading project, it's a building and pool project. Winter construction isn't really that big of a deal. And you're still looking at the pool opening, you know, it doesn't really delay the practical. That's Oh, no, yes, you
No,
will.
no,
Absolutely.
yes.
But what I mean was, is that if the numbers had come in February correctly and we were under construction now, you wouldn't have been done until this fall. So practically the swim season would have been over anyway. Now the couple months delay this will cause, I mean, you'll be ready next winter.
So by the June of 2027.
So by June of 2027. Absolutely. I 100% concur on that.
Councilmember Pride?
Well, not to be the broken record, but again, back to Wildan, I'm just curious, you know, it was awarded to them for the design. It took over 13 months. What I just heard said is that they weren't paying attention to what they were asked to do. They took it upon themselves to do a more robust pool that we couldn't afford. And were they being paid to do work that wasn't to the scope that we had asked them to do?
Well, they were paid their contract scope that they were done. They did not get any amendments for that. So no, we didn't. They gave us a number to design the pool. That is what we paid them.
Okay. And the funds for the payment for the design by Wildan, did that come out of the grant? Or was that other money?
I'm not 100% sure on that. That was a little bit before my time. I believe the answer is yes, but I can check on that.
Okay. So I didn't know if that would have diminished what's available that we're talking about now with the grant. I was just curious looking at the bid specs. It seems like, and this is little things, but like when you look at the picnic table benches and the tables and the benches, the price difference was staggering between the bids. And it just made me wonder what kind of specs were in the contract. I mean, if you have, it's little tiny print, I have to put my glasses on to read it.
I have the same problem.
But when you look at, you know, one bid for a bench is $1,500 and then another bid is $5,200. And then a table, you know, one bid's $1,250 and one is $10,500. I just wondered, you know, were they all bidding the same spec of a table and they're going to actually cost that much more? I'm almost thinking maybe we should go buy the tables and stuff ourselves. Trying to bid it. I asked that question because as I looked through these numbers and I was comparing, for example, just looking at the far column, which was North Star, comparing it to the highlighted column, which was the low bid, there were several items, you know, that another contract was way lower on. And I don't know if that's the hope by rebidding this out, that by batching it differently, that maybe we'll get more reasonable, more knowable bids for those items.
That's the hope. You know, it's hard to tell on a specific item exactly what the contractor was thinking. But normally when the scope is clear, and I don't know, again, I going to park benches, I don't know. But you know, you look at the sidewalks, for example, it's pretty tight. You know, you don't see a whole lot of, like, I think it's bid item 5. You know, they're relatively tight, you know, across the board. Same with the concrete, you know, all that. And then you look at, like, say you go down to the pool complex and like the equipment room, there's a lot of spread, you know, so.
Well, if you look at so bid item 37, which was the pool, right? That's the big item, huge variance in prices.
Correct.
And you didn't show the engineer's bid on this, which I understand why. But when you look at the disparity of these bids, so if one's going to bid 1.14 million and the low bid is 450,000. Were we looking at, which was closest to what we thought it was going to cost in our engineer's estimate?
Right. So, I mean, so for that was actually the reason for my comment earlier about maybe the scope wasn't clear for the contractor, because why would or there's uncertainty or unknown. So the contractor that bid really high, maybe is less hungry for the project, or maybe they're worried about something, that they're going to uncover something and be stuck with it. And so they're adding in a whole bunch extra fluff because they're worried that they see some problem in the plans that maybe the low bidder did not. I don't know. This is just conjecture on my part.
Okay.
But that's usually when you have a really, and actually the bid results, the net ones actually aren't that bad. The spread from 5.2 million to 6.1 million. I mean, you have four numbers that are,
Relatively close.
relatively close to each other. So we really care about the total bottom number, not so much individual ones, because they always will fluctuate for whatever random reason. And, it could be for the benches that maybe the contractor made a mistake. Who knows?
Yeah.
And we really worry about the bigger line items and the small ones, because that's usually where we see the savings. But yes, but you're right. These are now public information. So it's possible that when you rebid it, you might get tighter numbers. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
So just last question in the staff report on page 32 of 59, where it was kind of showing the low bid, the estimated overall cost. So when it shows design phase for 330,000, was that what was paid to Wildan?
That was Wildan, and also project management costs for us, and also so both all money spent to consultants on this.
Okay.
Wasn't there
basically-
also sub-consultants on it, like the swimming pool guy?
Yeah, and then also it was permit fees too. Like our building department had to review the pools, and so the permitting costs for the building department to do all that review. My and John's time, yeah, and
Sorry, Councilmember Pride, I just wanted you to know that there were some other embedded costs.
Yeah.
yeah. Just to keep it simple, that's what.
So really we're just looking, so the base bid for the low bid was 5.299 million. And then our cost had been the 4.1 million, because we still in our 4.113, that didn't include contingency or CM and inspection.
Or design costs. So the
Right.
4.1 million is really just a direct comparison to the 5.3 million.
Got it. So, okay. So the 4.113 is direct to the 5.29.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Busby?
+1 on Wildan. That's rough, man.
Yeah, it was very frustrating.
Just wanted to say that one out loud. I think we need to get ahead of this in the community. It is going to add time. I think that this project has already been delayed, and it's very public that it's been delayed. I think we need to get ahead of this. I think we need to own it to the community and just say, hey, this is what's going on. This is why it happened. This is the timeline that we're on. We're still planning on going swimming in 2027. I think that means a lot. I'm curious, in transitioning from a primary bid to bids with bid alternates, in general, I don't know how that works for municipal, but like, hey, if we're doing this on bid alternates, does that buy us more time to go out and see if we can get a response from the state on CDBG funds to maybe pick up some of those alternate bids later down? Or do we have to sign the contract for all primary and bid alternates within the next 2 months?
I think that there might be a period of time where it expires. I mean, the contractor gave you the number, so if you get the contractor under bid, usually that's it, because that number is kind of set. That said, the contractor might choose to honor it anyway because they want more work. So are they obligated to honor their numbers after you sign the original contract? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I can check on that, but might they do it anyway for the more work? Yes, they
Like,
might.
hey, we're good on the primary bid. We're going to go out and see if we can't find more money for this bid alternate. Give us a little bit of time and tell us when our drop dead date is,
Expires after, is it
Like 30 days?
100? Yeah, so there's a time period where
Maybe
that's
it's 100.
yeah,
Yeah.
120 days. And then they might be willing to, and we have in the past actually been successful when we got more money for things, is let the contractor adjust their scope a little bit in order, not their scope, their price in order to account for a delay.
Yeah.
Like a reasonable.
Depends on how the contract.
It
Yeah.
does. Yeah, I will defer to you.
We just have those. My follow-up question to that is, what's our timeline on the original grant funding? Like, when does that become a bomb and blow up? And then on CDBG, I mean, hey, it's there. We might as well like take a flyer and see if somebody might write us like, hey, we'd really like to pick up the walkways, but we don't know that we're going to have the funds. Can we say yes to this in 3 months or something like that?
Well, I don't know. I believe we're fine with the grant funding.
We are fine with the grant funding.
Okay.
So I'm not worried about that, especially with the new proposed timeline of being complete by the spring of 2027. I think the other possibility is to, if the paths and lighting and solar don't happen, within X number of days based on the contract, because we can't find the funding, we could come back later and do the CDBG program income funding if that's something.
It just becomes a separate project.
Yeah, exactly. It would be-
okay.
And it would be bid separately, and we could try to do something like that if we're not able to squeeze it into this project.
That's it.
Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, yeah, just to echo some of my colleagues' thoughts, this needs to be said publicly. This is obviously beyond frustrating, and Willdan was the problem. And it's unfortunate because Willdan provided outstanding service to the city of Willows for many years with Karen Mantelli, who was the consummate professional. And remember the general plan? She put that together, did outstanding work. So they previously provided many years of outstanding service to the city, right? And then we got not the C team, we got the D team. We got a slug with Willdan with the design and planning delays, and it's no one's fault in this room. It's not our staff, it's not Lori, it's not you, your firm. It wasn't John Wanger with Coastland. The engineering services have always been fantastic. It's our city manager Marty Brown has shared her severe frustration with that design and planning, those design and planning delays with Willdan. It was crazy. In the meantime, what happens? Inflation hits, and here we are. A couple of $1 million out. So anyway, whatever we need to do, I like the idea of the compartmentalizing, if you will, the project list, and the pool's priority, right? Number one priority. How many years has it been now? How many years we've been talking about this? Yeah,
Before
way
I
too
started.
long. And then I like the pool, the pickleball tennis courts. Pickleball is real popular. Obviously, tennis is popular too. And then whatever we can afford after that. But it's, we'll get these bids rejected. Let's get this done fast. Let's get this done.
Already working on it.
So
Yep.
good,
Yes.
good. And, shame on that slug with Coastland. Shame on that person. Hopefully that he's no longer employed with them.
You mean
So-
Willdan,
You mean
right?
Willdan?
I mean, did I say Coastland?
Said Coastline, yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I'm sorry. Not Coastland. Happy with Coastland. That slug, there are no slugs in Coastland. So anyway, that's the engineering firm. Willdan, that slug in Willdan that we had. Hopefully that slug is gone. Okay. I've said it publicly. I feel better. So maybe bill for the therapy. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Good luck with the project. Let's get it done.
100%. We're working to get it back out to bid as quickly as possibly.
So thank you, Lori. Thank you for the information. Good presentation. Thank you.
So if we're taking this pizza and we're cutting it into slices, I think one of them, instead of maybe completely replace the pathways, we discussed what it would take to just resurface the current ones that we have. Can they do a seal on that? I'm seeing that it's at $1 million, a little over $1 million cost right now. I know they're asphalt. I don't know if there's a way to resurface them to make them how they are right now a little bit better. To possibly cut some costs there so we can get some of the other ancillary items done too. Trying to find the best way for us to get, we got a pizza pie and it's sliced up. I want to get as much of that pie as I can. So if that's a possibility that we can do. And then something else I'd like to see happen, and this is more on the city side, is the current tennis courts. I know they're not functional. but they are becoming an eyesore with the amount of weeds growing in there. I don't know if we can get Public Works out there to possibly clean that up. It is just starting to look a little bit.
So regarding the path, I'll check with our CAFs person. We've been
Okay.
working with him very closely on this because there's a lot of rules about what you rehabilitate something too much, then you trigger ADA. And if you trigger ADA, you have to redo the whole thing.
Mhm.
So I don't know about pathways because I do more roads than parks, but for roads, you're only allowed to do like, say, a simple slurry seal before you have to trigger ADA sidewalk improvements and stuff. So I guess my point is I will check to see what
Yeah.
level of treatment is allowable under code, and I can get a cost for that, and we can include that in the package if it's something that doesn't trigger more expensive.
Right.
costs.
Yeah. Because I'm
Can
thinking if they can
The
just
council hear me now?
Yes. Hey, Joe.
Hey guys, sorry about the technical delay. I just want to speak on that pathway issue, Mayor Hudson. Again, if we make things a part of the entire scope of the project, like Lori disclosed on sealing it, we'd be subject to ADA requirements. And one of the big thing with the pathways is when they enter the roadway or the sidewalk, the slope and the amount that they're sloping. So it may be a potential to do it later as a set aside to not push us into that ADA compliance. But as of now, if we did that as a part of this project, anything we touch would need to meet ADA compliance.
Well, still,
Unfortunately.
if we're resurfacing them and not replacing them, our ADA compliance isn't going to be the full 30,000 square feet. It's going to be what, 2,000 square feet of 3 different access points.
Well, actually, you're
Correct.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we were
Go
going
ahead,
to try
Mary.
to leave in there, if we could, was the exterior walkways on the.
That includes the sidewalks around everywhere
Yeah.
too.
So
Okay.
that was about 12,000 lineal feet or 12,000 square feet. So we're
Okay.
going to try to leave that in if we
Mhm.
could as a bid alternate, and then remove the interior. And as Joe said, the concern with the parkways, I'm pretty sure that, but I can check, but I think there's a lot of rules about that. But if you maintain it separately, sometimes you can get away with things that you can't do if it's part of an overall large project, because the size of the project means the state says if you're going to spend $4 million on this, you can afford some pathways.
Nope.
Even though that's not fair, but that's.
No, I get it, but we're at 5.5, and if the pathways are costing us 1.2, hey, we're a lot closer to our 4.7 that we can afford,
And
rather than that 5.5. So
we,
that's what I'm looking at things like that. So if there's ways to kind of, and that was one item where they were actually pretty close across the board on the price.
Was.
Where like the building, I think the building came in at like 400,000 for one and 1.2 for the other, which seems like a big gap. But anyways, that was one thing I just noticed. And then those are my only comments on this. Yeah, let's get rolling on this ball. I'd love to see it done and started, and I'd love to be able to go play some pickleball.
And just to piggyback on what Mayor Hudson said, I've talked to several people in the community that are very frustrated with what our park looks like in that section. And we've been kind of deferring things, I think, for a long time, thinking we're going to start some construction. And now that we're delayed yet again, I agree that, if we could get Public Works out there and do a nice cleanup of weeds, and even if it wasn't expensive to put a couple signs that say the project's coming. Not everybody follows what's going on, and there's a grant. The rumor in the community is we've already lost the money because we haven't done anything. So I think just a little bit of cleanup and signage would go a long way as we do what Councilmember Busby suggested and get out in front of the community and own the fact that this has been unfortunately delayed yet again. But we're doing what we can to make it look aesthetically pleasing and doing that education to the public that goes by there and is frustrated that the tennis courts are locked and things just don't look very pretty.
Yeah, something that says
And
coming summer of 27. But yeah, I think
To
that would
speak
be
to
my
that a
only.
little bit.
And with that, I am gonna. Did you have anything to say, Joe? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to speak to Councilmember Pride's piece of that. We can have Public Works go out and clean it up until the time that we're ready to move forward. We know that it doesn't look good. So we can get that cleaned up now that we're delaying this even further. And as far as signage goes, Prop 68, the $177,000 that's going to the pool requires a sign be done. So what we're looking to do is once we get awarded, be able to spend that money and put that sign up and then transition it to a permanent sign that has all the correct Prop 68 language on it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
With that, I'm going to ask for any public comment regarding item 8A. Seeing none, I'll go to the pleasure of the council.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adopt a resolution next in line, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Willows, State of California, rejecting all bids received on February 24th, 2026, associated with the Willows Mobility, Recreation, and Beautification Project, also known as the Sycamore Park Beautification Project, and authorize the rebidding of the contract.
Second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? With that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0.
I would say, is it just my eyes or is it dark in here?
It's. So am I the keeper of the light switch?
Ah,
I know.
there we go. I just, it kept getting darker and darker and I'm like,
How am I going to get it?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I couldn't handle it anymore.
Earlier.
All right.
I'm a
Perfect.
vampire. I love it.
Thank you, Lori. All right. With that, we will go on to item 8B, Police Chief, Interim Police Chief Recruitment Costs and Process. Recommended action, discuss the associated costs with recruiting and appointing a police chief or interim police chief to assist the City of Willows with reestablishing its police department, as well as the total cost to start and operate a new PD. We will bring this up, and Marty Brown, City Manager, will speak on this.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. This was a request of Councilmember Pride to start the discussion about the police chief and/or interim police chief recruitment process. And it seemed to make sense to also discuss that in the context of the total cost of starting a police department as well. Looking at the numbers, the total roll-up cost for hiring a police chief and/or an interim police chief would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $220,000 to $240,000. That's salaries and benefits, total compensation. $220,000 if the person was a Pepper employee, and more like $240,000 if they were a classic CalPERS employee. The total cost for based on the January 2025 report that was done by Municipal Resource Group, Brian Uller, retired police chief, that was presented to the council and made as a public document in January of 2025, estimated the one-time startup cost to be between $832,000 and $1.8 million to start a new police department. That's one-time cost. And that the ongoing operating costs after that, at least in the initial first couple of years, would be somewhere between $2.2 and $2.3 million. And then in addition, the attachment 1 is the law enforcement report that was written by Brian Uller of MRG. And also added to that was attachment number 2, which was a memo that I received from Under Sheriff Travis Goodwin shortly after this was the report was released, February, March, maybe timeframe. It's not dated, but that was on attachment 2, outlining some concerns that the sheriff's office had related to that report and some costs that they thought weren't fully accounted for, or the idea that perhaps we would need more deputies in particular and other officers and essential staff that were not included in Brian's report, that would, of course, then, if that was determined to be the case, would obviously increase the estimate and the startup costs of $800,000 to $1.2 million, as well as the ongoing operating costs would also increase, of course, if the under sheriff's assessment and the sheriff's office assessment turned out to be that the council would like to go in a different direction and increase the staffing beyond what MRG proposed in the report from January 2025. So I wasn't planning to say much more beyond that, but this was requested around at the time of our last council meeting to bring this back to the full council for discussion. And that concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions for me.
Welcome. I will start with Vice Mayor Thomas. I'll wait my turn.
Councilmember Pride, who
Yeah.
Oh.
So, I'm newer to the council, going into the second full year. And in the time that I've been on the council and we've had our contract with the Glenn County Sheriff's Office, and in reading that contract, it's been implied and alluded to that we would continue to bring back our Willis Police Department. I also believe, that that's what we wanted to do as part of Measure I and getting that passed. And so as we move forward to negotiating new terms with the Glenn County Sheriff's Office, I just believe that, we hear from them that I think it's their preference that we start up our own Willows Police Department. And I believe we need to start taking a step towards doing that. The first step would be to hire a police chief or someone who can build an organization. I think if we don't start doing it, then we're relying on having a contract with the Glenn County Sheriff's Office, and that may be doable into the future, or it may not. But I believe we're remiss if we don't start having the conversation seriously about bringing it back. Finances are difficult. I understand that. We don't have a lot of money, but I believe it's imperative that we offer law enforcement for our community. And I think the handwriting on the wall that I see is that needs to be in the form of our own police department. So in my ideal world, we would start a small core department and still hopefully be able to contract with the sheriff's office to supplement that as we're able to make that transition financially from one to the other. I totally understand our financial situation does not allow us to just magically create a police department. But what I have heard in bringing this up with council is that we do not have the knowledge and the ability to do it ourselves, that we should retain the professional services of whether it's a hired interim police chief or police chief who can determine the needs, what those are, and start to build a program. So I wanted us to have that discussion in public. I think the public needs to hear that it's on our minds, right? And I think we need to make some decisions.
I have a real quick question for you. Page 57 and 59. These numbers here that state that for chief, 2 sergeants, 6 officers, 1 analyst, the totals are a little over 2 million for the GCO weighted top step on that page. Is this what the sheriff's department sent over to us in 2025?
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct. The attachment 2 was the memo and the spreadsheet you just showed.
So according to this, the sheriff's department saying it costs $2.1 million with incentives for 10 employees.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just curious.
Came from the sheriff's office.
Bring that up later. With that, I will continue to Vice Mayor Thomas with any of his questions.
Well, I don't disagree that we need to be working towards that. We just initiated our mitigation discussion with the sheriff's department about the cost of current contract we're under. I believe when we come through the end of that mitigation, we'll have a better understanding of what the true costs really are. And I think that would be a good foundation at that point in time to really take a headlong look into where we are moving forward. I think we need to get through that mitigation discussion first before we could really actually commit, because we don't know win or lose. Win, we got this. Lose, we have this. And it all comes down to what can we afford to pay. So I think it's a good idea, Lori, that we start this process, but I think we need to wait until we're through the mitigation with the sheriff's office and see what our actual true costs are, because that would be a good foundation for setting forth a budget that we would need to have for going forward. And then we have to figure out how you can pay for one department while you're building a second. And we've got 3 quarters of sales tax under our belt. We get the 3rd quarter yet?
Yes, we've gotten some of it.
We've gotten some of the third quarter, so we haven't even got a full year's sales tax. We know we can really estimate what it's going to be. Then the proposal for the new contract would wipe out all of the money that we just raised with the sales tax. So we've added it to our CIP plan, and we're looking at it, and I think this is a good plan to move forward once we know where our hard costs are for the sheriff's department, because that would be a real firm number we could use for budgetary purposes going forward. I'll reserve any other comments for later.
Okay. Councilmember Busby.
So I think that this is probably the right thing that needs to happen in that for a few different reasons. I am cautious in this because we still have the how do we pay for it question, which is a very hard question to answer. I did find my notes and it's handwritten, so I want it's something that we're going to have to look into down the road. I think in some of our discussions around this, I think the 10 million number has been kind of thrown out, and I found my notes as to how I got there. First and foremost, I think in going out and finding this person, a lot of the things that are outlined in this proposal, I have a feeling are going to be really similar to that Sycamore Park project where we think it's going to cost something and they're going to be exponentially more. One of which is, they've got $725 for phone service. That's what I pay a month at the racetrack. And so, hey, that ain't right. There's a handful of things that like that. Understanding our overlapping law enforcement costs as we are doing this, we have to figure out where we're going to get those funds from because it just doesn't exist. I think if we go into the going out and hiring somebody based on our mid-year budget review that we did yesterday, the conversation we immediately have to start having about our 26-27 budget is what are we cutting? Because we can't afford it right now. Our budget surplus is not as much as just the loaded salary here. So we have to start talking about what are we cutting and understanding what our incremental insurance, CalPERS, all the things that unfortunately are eating us alive that we don't have a whole hell of a lot of control over. And then finally, I think that this person, we have to really think about what we're hiring for. I think that bringing somebody on that has a lot of experience that can help us figure out what's real and what's not, being careful about not representing the position in a way that we don't know what year 2 or year 3 looks like because we need to do all of this groundwork first. And so I don't want to go out and misrepresent a position and kind of do somebody dirty like that. So I want to be really know what we're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's somebody to kind of true these stand-up costs and understand the last part about it, which is the significant cost, which was not covered in the actual outline, was the building. So in this outline, the building was a temporary facility.
Mm-hmm.
And it says in here that it can be temporary. It does not say how long it can be temporary. But we will eventually have to build a permanent facility that meets all of the California kind of, standards. And I had in my notes, because I think I asked that thing, I had in my notes, all right, what would that cost? It was about $5.5 million. And that was a guess. So, hey, is that real? I don't know. But I think that that's something that we need an answer to is if this proposal, we follow this to a T, we have a temporary facility, how long can that be temporary? And can we afford to upgrade into a full facility inside our timeline or inside of our budget, which ultimately leads to how do we pay for this? And when are we taking out a bond? And so I'm supportive of going out and finding somebody, but I am supportive of going out and finding somebody of figuring out what's real and what's not,
Mm-hmm.
and simultaneously trying to figure out how we pay for this.
I just want to add also that, Brian's report didn't really address at all IT. There are significant increases in IT when you have a police department, nor did it address at all attorney's fees. There are significant increases when you have a police department and attorney fees, and those really are not addressed at all in the initial cost, as well as any kind of bonuses that we would have to offer in order to keep pace with the surrounding area. So those are like, to go back to your Sycamore Park example, I think you're absolutely right that's a challenge with this, because I know that there's a few things like that, and clearly the undersheriff and the sheriff's office thinks there's some things that weren't included. So there's some hidden costs we don't know about that could increase this closer to that 1.8 million initially, and that's with maybe temporary space.
I guess that I'm supportive of this, and I recognize unstoppable force and immovable object is kind of the situation we're in right now. But I think for me, the first thing that I would want to do is sit down with Andy for like 2 hours and try to figure out how much debt service we can afford, what it looks, how do we finance this? Like, we just need to know how we pay for it and then go from there. That's all I got.
Councilmember Hanson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with pretty much everything my colleagues have said. Councilmember Pride, I agree with pretty much everything, most everything you said. Vice Mayor Thomas, 100% of what you said. Councilmember Busby, 100% of what you said. You're all accurate. Rick and I served on this particular law enforcement services committee. We've had extensive discussions about this topic, and with our city manager and also Brian Euler, and we have had some council discussion, as you know, also. And thank you, Marty, for including this Brian's report here. It's great background information. The report's dated January 2025, which, just 15 months ago, roughly, but significant inflationary issues. So, what are the costs? Brian's report was basically a Hugo to a Dodge budget, right? He tapered a lot of this to what we could afford. And exactly, Matt, what are the costs going to be? They're going to be atrocious. This is a tremendous undertaking. And before you mention it, Marty, I'm sitting here, one of my notes, the technical costs right there, boy, that's a big number. That's a big number. I mean, let alone housing, right? Okay. We have to have somewhere to put a police department. Our former police department, which is now, where Marty's office is, was a poor design when they built this building in 1969. The back of the building, it was outgrown. When I went to work for the police department in 1978, we'd outgrown it by then. It was, the whole thing was silly, right? So anyway, it needs to be done right. But first we need to shore up our law enforcement services contract. We have a duty to provide, as we know, or sworn obligation to provide effective and adequate public safety services to the citizens as well. As right now, we're in the middle of that process. We need to shore that up. And after we do that, and have, services designated to be provided for our citizens for their safety, then we can start talking about this topic along the financial note as well. We've made no bones about this, about that November we're going to be getting our first receipts. We need a year, right? We're in a position now moving forward. It's my opinion now. We need to reestablish a Willis Police Department. It's all about costs. That's it. If we had $20 million sitting there, we'd go forward and establish a Willis Police Department. And in a matter of less than a year, we can have one up and running. But let's shore our position up first, okay? And then we can recruit for a professional when we can afford it, whether it be a retired annuitant or somebody looking for a full-time position, whatever. But I agree with Marty's recommendation. This needs to be the right person. Okay, this not just anyone can do this work. I know a little bit from when I speak. I spent a total of 47 years in law enforcement, 36 of it full time, and I'm a retired chief of a state agency. Okay, so I've worked for a local PD for 2 years, sheriff's office here in Glenn County for 15, and I spent almost 21, just a little under 21 of a state agency. So I know how policing works. Has to be the right person. Let's get the right person who can adequately advise us on what we need. And if we think we're going to go out and hire a police chief who's going to be out there responding to calls all day, that individual, whether it's a retired annuitant or a semi-retired individual or somebody who's still in the middle of their career. Needs to be the right person, somebody that's going to get it done. And I don't see how if we are a police chief, it's unfair to expect that individual is going to be out handling calls and conducting investigations all day and all night. They have to have some time to build an organization, which is going to be an extensive build. This is a big lift. So just, I think we all understand that. Just want to caution anybody listening, as to those facts. And this is serious business. Policing is very technical and it's very expensive. And Marty, absolutely. When you have a police department, when we have contractual law enforcement services, we're not handling those day-to-day administrative tasks that comes with enforcing the law, right? And you know what I'm talking about. There's other damage control that comes with that. And when you have a contractual services, those operations are part of the contract. So that does eliminate significant heavy lifting at times on our end, especially when which is the policing business, right? So I'm probably not explaining it very well. I think you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, yeah, a good discussion. It's too early to pull this switch yet, though. This is a switch we need to pull, but we need to pull it and be smart about it, and we need to be able to afford to pull it. But I'm concerned about, like I said, shoring up our current law enforcement services contract now, about getting that squared away, and then we can move to the next step. This needs to be in chronological order, and we need to be smart about it. And right now, can we afford this? Oh, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I mean, you might as well take your city budget, and what Vice Mayor Thomas alluded to the fact that this increased in services completely wipes out our municipal budget. So what departments are we going to eliminate to provide law enforcement services in the city of Willows? Today, right now, that's the question that's in my mind. We're going to wipe out public works. We're going to wipe out fire. We're going to wipe both of them out. Come on, let's be real. So anyway, I've talked enough. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I don't have any further questions regarding this matter. Is there any public comment? Sure. Okay. With that, council discussion. Any council discussion that anybody has on this matter?
I agree very much with Gary, and order of operations is the magic of this.
I'm going to respectfully disagree in that in the order of operations, we started this study, we had it done in January of last year, and we dragged our feet. This table did nothing with this study for over a year. And now we're kicking the can down the road again.
I don't agree with that categorization. I think that we saw it, looked at it, and said we can't afford this, and then moved on to other things. And I think that's
who said we were waiting to see how our sales tax was doing.
Yeah.
And it's doing right on par as to where we thought it was going to be, according to the calculations and projections. And I think that this isn't an ancillary thing that we get to do. This is a priority thing that we need to do. And it's not, let's go beg, borrow, and steal from another department to see if they'll keep watching our backs. It's, hey, we may have to cut public works. We may have to cut library, but our law enforcement, the safety of my kids, your kids, grandkids is way higher priority than making sure the park lawns are mowed on time. Or I don't mean to dumb down the tasks that Public Works does or the library does, because they do very important jobs. But for me, the priority is public safety. I want to know that when my kids walk onto that school campus, that there's going to be an officer that's willing to respond when something happens there and not play games, and make sure that they're there to protect the children that are in this town and the lives that are still in this town. That's my priority. So I respect my colleagues, but I do respectfully disagree in the order of operations. I think that we do need to move forward and if we don't agree with this valuation, we at least need to get another one done as soon as possible so we can actually start getting some real numbers. And whether that's one consultant to do another project like this and compare it to it and say, hey, these numbers are way off, or hey, no, actually, this guy's pretty close on. And here's a couple things that he missed. And these are the actual numbers, or we have two of them do it and see two different versions of the same thing. I think we have to do something other than wait and hold and see what's next. And that's my comments on them as far as how I'm feeling regarding it.
Well, and to come back, since I'm the one that asked to have this on the agenda, I thank you, Mayor Hudson. I agree with your comments. I think we keep kicking the can down the road. I think I would like to look and say, you know, if the cost to bring on a police chief, and I heard what everyone said, I think the right person for the job, I think framing it appropriately so they know this may not be a forever thing. We can call it an interim. But if it's 220 to 240,000 a year, whatever the number was in our staff report, you know, I think going to our budget, you know, we just talked about the budget yesterday, but say, what does it look like if we bite the bullet and we do that? Or a consultant again, but, you know, to do the real deal. I think, like I said, I believe the handwriting is in the wall that we need to bring back our Willows PD, and waiting to find out what the true costs are with the sheriff's office has validity. But I think if we wait to even bring someone on to start bringing back our police department until we get through another process, we've just delayed making any decisions even further out. So to me, it's spending one-time money, you know, this interim money, it's spending money, yes. And I think the only reason in my mind that it doesn't make sense to spend it is if we're going to sit here and say we have no intentions of bringing back the Willows Police Department. If that's the thoughts of this council, that we absolutely don't think we're ever going to do that, then yeah, let's just call it what it is and not do it. But I don't believe that that's the direction that we're going. So I think we have to do something to quantify exactly what that costs. I love, Matt, what you said. You know, how much debt service can we afford? If we currently have a law enforcement contract for our 25-26 budget year of $2.355 million, that's money that'll be in the budget next year for law enforcement. That could be debt service money. I mean, I'm not the expert here, you know, our financial people are, but I think the decision we have to make as a council is, are we bringing back a PD? And if we think we are, I think we're not making a wise choice if we just keep waiting to bring in that expert. Whether it's a police chief, interim police chief, or another consultant, I can discuss that. And it's not a temporary facility. We're bringing it back. So then we're looking at what's a permanent facility look like? Is it a modular building? Is it something here? You know what? We're actually getting to the nitty gritty and figuring out how do we pay for it.
Mr. Mayor?
Hold on. Go ahead, Marty.
I would just like to, I mean, the mid-year budget that was presented last night shows roughly a little over $300,000 surplus. If you spend more than that anywhere in the budget, we're back to a structural deficit. We're just coming out of the woods now. So that's roughly the, you know, it's a little bit more than hiring a police chief. That's assuming, you know, lots of different things that we could assume about the current status of the law enforcement contract. And that's assuming there's no crisis or other emergency or anything like that. I would like to recommend, rather than, you know, taking that direction, that we look at the possibility of doing some sort of bond or something like that, so that the city could get a lump sum money if we could afford the debt service to do all the things that we need to do, and not jerry rig it together and piecemeal it and hope for the best and hope we get what we need to get in terms of some sort of ongoing law enforcement protection while we're doing this other task. Because it's going to be very, very difficult, because there just isn't enough reserve there to do the other things unless there's some big, you know, lump sum of money. I don't know how that's going to work when your total surplus next year is projected at what, $315,000.
Next. 70. Next.
This year's
Okay.
370.
And I'm not saying necessarily the police chief or interim police chief. I'm saying we need to do something. I believe in what Lori's saying and bringing this up, and that we need to do this. But if we're not liking the numbers that we have on this, and we're thinking that it's going to be another Sycamore Park, then we need to get somebody else to come in here to give us some factual numbers. so that when we do apply for that bond, we know what we're actually dealing with. And we can actually say, hey, this is what we need that bond amount to be. So whether it's 10 million, like you're discussing, or I think it's a little over 2 million started up according to his, where are we actually at? Are we,
Well, we
We're
could
$8
also
million
just see what we can
apart.
afford. We can actually do the financial end now and see, somebody could tell us what we can afford.
And see what
We
we-
have financial advisors that I can go to and talk to them about it and come up with some numbers and bring something back to you about, like, here's what you can afford based on the projections and your new sales tax. And we could, back into, I mean, that's just another way to get to the end game, which is, okay, we can only afford a $5 million bond. Well, then that's what we're working with. Can we now make that work or not? That could be another way to do it. And that is very little money to do that. I mean, that's something, we have financial advisors. I can go to them and ask them, can you help me figure out what our options are for something? We did this before. Some of you might remember, one of our advisors came back with a tax allocation bond of some sort. There were 2 or 3 different options. One was borrowing against future sales tax. There's, and that was done for nothing because they're our advisors. So I could just also go and see, now the sales tax passed. We're here now. We have projections. They seem to be on target. Here's our surplus for this next year. What can we afford? And maybe make that the next step. Because if, we need 10 million and we can only afford 5 million, well, that's certainly going to influence the thinking, right? That could be a next step that doesn't cost us much right now.
To me, that makes good sense. Find out what our capacity for debt service would be, so we could acquire sufficient funds to do what we need to do. So I would think council's direction here should be to staff research we may or may not be able to obtain the service in our current financial situation based on our new sales tax and hopefully an estimated increase in cannabis tax.
Good point about the cannabis tax.
I think the
That
other
would give us
really,
an ability
really big
to-
question mark here that has the biggest, it's not the, the 1 million to 1.8 million in operational stand-up costs. It's
Mhm.
the temporary building. Like, okay, how long is temporary acceptable? I think that's the biggest cost. And then, getting an idea, there's obviously a floor plan, of what a potential facility looks like. But, hey, what does that actually cost to build? Understanding that.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about when Brian was here looking at the building and coming up with the estimates for tenant improvements was the idea actually of narrowing the hallway out here and gutting that whole side and reconfiguring it. Because the end of the building where I am, which was, and Councilmember Hanson can speak to at length, I'm sure, about the end of that is really not appropriate or large enough where my office is and the finance department is for police department. And really, but it might work if we did tenant improvements for the whole inside, because there is a lot of empty open space and unused offices on our side of the building. And, it's quite a bit of ample square footage per office. I mean, many of you have been, not even my office, in Joe's office. That's a palatial office with a lot of space there. So if you think about all the areas that are, really underutilized, even the front counter, the amount of space that to walk around in there,
Yeah.
that could all be completely
There's space in this,
reconfigured.
there's space in this building. There's a lot of wasted
Yeah,
space
there's a lot
when
of
this was
wasted
built,
space. So
1969, yeah.
that might be, that might work versus running out and, you have property right here we could build on, or we could build back in the parking lot. That might be a possibility also.
The city fathers at the time when this building was built in 69, the police department was a seven-member organization at that time. And it was for some reason put in the back of the building where nobody knew where it was. So it was too small then. But no, there is space in the building. Council, I do respect opinions. I respect everyone on the council, but I'm gonna just, I think my comments are misunderstood. I don't want to be accused of kicking a can down the road. I'm not kicking a can anywhere. I'm kicking a can 3 months. That's it. We need to provide law enforcement services to our citizens somehow. That's number one. This has to be done smart and in chronological order, just what I said. Okay. This is my advice. Let's get that squared away. Then we can come back and have this discussion. Let's not waste money on a consultant. We already hired a consultant. We have a good frame outline of a report here, right? We have some options in here. We've done that. It makes no fiscal sense to go out and hire a consultant again. We did that. Been there, done that. This council is not kicking a can down the road. This is just being fiscally smart. That's all. I mean, it comes down to dollars and cents. So let's provide adequate coverage, law enforcement coverage for our citizens first. Then we can come back and have a discussion on hiring the right person later. That's my recommendation. I'm not kicking a can down any road. I don't want to be accused. I will take offense to being accused of kicking a can down the road, because that's absolutely not true, period. We need to reestablish a police department. We know that. That's what we're going to do. But right now, unless we write a bounce check, we're not going to be able to do it. So let's be smart about it. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Pleasure of the council.
Well, my direction would be that we direct staff to pursue what our bond or debt service could support. So we have an idea of where the dollars and cents could. And that, while that's happening, we finish through the mediation and see where we are with the sheriff's department. That gives us stronger numbers on what the actual cost of law enforcement personnel currently in Glenn County. Then we have two new pieces of information that we could then make a third, fourth, and fifth piece, put it together. And that takes about 3 months.
Agree.
That
It's a
would be
smart
my
thing to do.
Suggestion for the direction.
Would it be possible, Marty, to get the bond debt service information by our next meeting, which is basically a month from now, because we don't have a first meeting in April?
Right. I can try to do that. Yeah. I mean, I'll contact them before I leave, but I don't know how long it'll take them to do that.
Okay, but just so we can get the ball rolling on it, just to
Yeah,
ask them.
yeah, absolutely. I plan to reach out to them tomorrow morning if that's the direction of the council.
All in favor of the direction?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sounds like a
Absolutely.
good direction. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. And with that, we we will go into item 9, comments and reports. Item 9A, council correspondence. I do not have any. City clerk does not have any. Item 9B, city council comments and reports. Vice Mayor Thomas.
None.
Okay, Councilmember Pride.
We did get an applicant for planning commission. So Mayor Hudson and I did an interview today, and Harleen wasn't available, but we both thought she was good. So we'd be recommending that gets brought back to the council. Unfortunately, not for a month, because we don't have another meeting for a month. Is there any way we can do something sooner? Or does it just have to wait till we have a council meeting to?
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to have a special council meeting. for
No.
that. Okay. Yeah,
I told her it might be a month before anything formal could
We'll make
happen.
sure it's on the next one though.
Perfect. And then I just wanted to say thank you to Marty for getting out draft municipal codes, sections 1 through 4. I don't know if the rest of you are excited, but I'm kind of liking to start looking at them. So thank you for that. That's it.
Councilmember Busby.
Nothing really to report. Council member Pride put together a very cool economic development kind of scope on us trying to move forward on trying to figure out what we can do. Reviewed that hurriedly today. I'm looking forward to kind of getting into that, but economic development is meeting.
Councilmember Hanson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good. You found a planning commissioner.
Yeah.
Good. Outstanding. Very good. It's good news. It gets harder and harder to find planning commissioners for some reason. So anyway, just real briefly, two meetings. Glenn County Transportation Commission meeting on March 19th, routine business only. We have, after banging on Caltrans a lot, our Caltrans rep did not show up for the meeting, but Caltrans in the state of California were banged on very heavily from myself and one of my colleagues in reference to their once again delaying that 162 a reconstruction project. We're not finished with that. We're not done with that. So we're going to have been talking to our city manager, and we're going to see what we could do to rectify that. So anyway, so stay tuned, more to come. Just routine business of the Transportation Commission meeting. There was no Regional Transit Committee meeting this month, so Mayor Hudson was off the hook. And then this morning we had a special Glenn County Drought and Water Shortage Task Force meeting where we finalized the draft drought and water shortage resilience plan that our consultant Dudek was hired to put together with our input. And the result was I was very pleased with the plan. It's lengthy. It's a lengthy plan. It's nearly complete. There are a few very minor edits to make, but it'll be out for public review here shortly, and it'll be posted on one of the websites with Glenn County Planning and Community Development along the, probably not water resources, but one of Marty Thomas's links that he has under his purview. And I'll let you know what that link is. I don't know what it is yet. There's still some a little bit of fine tuning to do on the document, but it's a good document. It's a good plan. Hopefully we'll never have to dust it off and use it, but it's only in the event of another severe drought, basically, or drought conditions. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. So we did do an interview for the Planning Commission vacancy, and it went really well. Mrs. Powell interviewed really well, and brought some good ideas, and I think we'll bring some good experience from outside into the Planning Commission. So looking forward to that being on the agenda. As far as the Caltrans project on Highway 162, personally, because of the building that we own on the State Route 162, we received a letter a couple months back saying that they were going to extend the project, their whole easement and extending the easement. I went to my PO box the other day and picked up another stack of mail, and in there was a letter stating that they are canceling our 162 project due to budgetary restrictions.
Canceling. Yeah, we haven't got that word yet.
Nope, but that is a letter that I received, and I didn't bring it with me tonight, but it is a letter that I received.
Wow.
So
And I just learned that this evening.
I
for the meeting.
I had just told Marty about it this morning
Seen
before the
it.
meeting. So they said that they're looking to can't remember if they said cancel or indefinitely postpone to a further date. What they're looking to, like, I believe after 2030.
It was nice
So-
of Caltrans to let the Transportation Commission know that.
Right?
So that was something that I did receive on a personal
Wow.
level that is in regards to that. And with that, I have nothing else. And we will go on to item 9C, City
Don't have-
Manager's
You
Report.
don't have any other good news, Evan?
No,
Oh, that's terrible.
that's the rain
Oh
on
my
the
God.
parade today.
No, thank you.
Very quickly, I will be going on vacation, and I will be out of the office March 28th through April 18th. So it's the longest vacation I've had in over a decade. I'm very excited about it. In my absence, Fire Chief Monk will be the acting city manager next week, first week, and then Community Development Services Director Joe Betancourt will be the acting city manager for the following 2 weeks. They will know how to get a hold of me in Italy. So if need be, they can get a hold of me. But yeah, and I will be putting that in an email to the council later this week, along with your biweekly update.
We'll make sure not to burn anything down.
Safe travels.
Yeah, should knock on some wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. With that, we will be going into item 10, closed session.
It's like
Prior,
you're leaving the kids home alone.
yeah.
Feels a little like that, actually. Yes.
Prior to the city council convening a closed session, the public will have an opportunity to address this council regarding the item listed below pursuant to Government Code 54954.3. Public comments are generally restricted to 3 minutes. Item 10A, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Section Code 54957, Title City Manager. Any public comments? No. Okay.
Walked out.
With that, we will go into closed session at 7:45. Good evening and welcome back to tonight's meeting. We will come out of closed session at 8:37. And with that, City Attorney Gretchen will give the report out.
The council met in closed session to discuss item 8, public performance evaluation.
Okay. With that, we will adjourn this meeting at 8:38. Have a good night.